I'm gonna,
No, I have to see the questions.
okay, I'll make it small again, but I need to record.
I did record. It's recording.
Oh, you're recording. Okay, bye, have fun.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Zadie.
Hi,
The camera's right
Bernadette.
there. How are you doing?
Doing okay. Don't have the virus.
So, I'm going to interview you about voting.
Okay.
Do you have anything you would like to say before I ask specific questions?
If the results this coming Tuesday aren't the way I want it to be, it'll be the most depressing post-election I've ever lived through.
Well, I don't even think we'll get them before the end of the month, maybe.
You may be very right. Very right. Certainly could go on and on.
All right. So I heard you ran for city council.
I did.
What can you tell me about that?
Well, it was back in 1974. I didn't even remember the year, but I just Googled my name and I put down city council, and an article in the New York Times came up that mentioned me. I was affiliated with the Reform. He was what's called regular, and he beat me. I don't even know by how much, but it wasn't a close election. He won, I think, substantially. But it was a great experience, just getting out there and shaking hands and meeting people. We didn't have a virus then, so we could shake hands. We didn't have to tap elbows.
So what about voting is important to you?
Everything. There's never been an election I've missed. I always vote. In fact, I've even worked as a poll watcher. Even if it's only your one vote, it's what you should be doing, and I always enjoy doing it.
Okay. Why is it important to you?
Well, it's how we express our political judgments. I was thinking about what's the first presidential election I can remember, and I had to look up. In those days, you had to be 21 to vote. Now I guess you can vote at 18, but you had to be 21. So I looked up what was the first presidential election that I was eligible for, and it was Lyndon B. Johnson, who had become president because Kennedy was assassinated, and Barry Goldwater, who was a very right-wing, although nowadays he would be seen as just a pure conservative rather than a nutcase that we have now in the office. And Johnson beat him by a wide margin.
Can you tell me, what do you think was the most important election you've ever voted in, like other than this one?
Good question. Other than this one, probably 4 years ago. Unfortunately, my candidate didn't win. But looking back on it, that was the most important one. Okay.
Why is voting important to you?
Why is voting important?
Yes.
Well, voting is important for everyone because that's how we determine where we're going as a country and who we want to lead us. That's important stuff. The first time you vote is very important because it sets a trend and makes you, at least for me, made me feel very important that I could vote. And by the way, I had to wait till I was 21 before I could vote. Now you can do it at 18 years old.
Who are you voting for this election?
In America, we don't ask people that because we have a secret ballot. But since you're my granddaughter and I love you, I will tell you I'm voting for Biden, okay? I was going to say Trump, but I thought your mother would have a heart attack.
So, are you voting in this election?
I already voted.
Me in mind?
Of course. I vote.
You're so proud.
I vote not just for me, but I vote for how it will affect my children and grandchildren. Sure.
What's the candidate that you find most unappealing out of all the candidates you voted for or against?
Yeah. Well, this election certainly is up there. I do not like Trump. I wasn't crazy about Richard Nixon either, but he was intelligent And I didn't dismiss all of his ideas. Some of his ideas were pretty good, but he just was not, he was not ethical.
Surprisingly, you're coming up with answers that I thought wouldn't be so interesting given the question. Okay.
Well, thank you. And your mom will remember this. We had our house was a place where you could vote, and we set up in our garage. We set up the polling booths, and your late grandmother and I, we manned the polls. We had 2 other people who helped us, and people would come in. It was all from the neighborhood. And now they're setting up these places like at Staples Center and Dodger Stadium where you can vote. I guess you can vote coming from anywhere. Though you had to vote in your area, in your neighborhood, and it was sort of a nice thing. It was something we felt we were giving back to the community, because you had to get out there really early to get ready for when the people start coming to vote. You had to set up the polling booths and the signs and all that the night before. We had the elections from our area took place in our garage. And but it was nice because you got to see your neighbors who came in, and it was friendly, and we enjoyed it.
Hi, my name's Amanda, and this is my mom, Jody, and we are going to be talking about one of her most memorable votes. What is a vote that you have the most memory about?
It's probably the first time I voted for president. It was 1996, and I voted for Bill Clinton, who was running against Bob Dole. And at the time, I voted absentee ballot because I was still in college at the University of Maryland, and I still wanted to vote in Rhode Island because I felt like I felt more like a Rhode Islander than I was living in Maryland. I knew the local people and who I was voting for, and I didn't want to give up my Rhode Island residency yet. So I voted by absentee ballot, but I was also working at the White House. So I voted for Bill Clinton because I wanted to keep my job. I was an intern, but I was about to graduate from college, and I was pretty sure, and I worked hard to graduate a semester early, so that because I knew if I graduated, I would probably have a job at the White House. And I also, my papa, my grandfather, he was a Republican, and he had voted Republican most of his life, I think. He would always talk about Republican things and say things that I didn't agree with and whatever, and I was always a Democrat. And I called my papa and I said, "Papa, this year I need you to vote for the Democrats. I need you to vote for President Clinton because I need a job." He said, "All right." And I'm pretty sure, I wasn't in the voting booth with him, but I'm pretty sure he voted for a Democrat for the first time in probably most of his life.
Wow. Could you tell me about another election that you voted in?
Well, this one I think you remember because it was just 4 years ago. We're about to vote again on Tuesday, and that is a very important election that we're voting in. But I think for me, I don't know, it probably is like tied for the one we voted when I voted the first time. But for me, being able to vote for a woman as president was pretty monumental. Like that is something, and I think that we have been striving for long before I existed. We wanted to see something like that happen. And you and I worked pretty hard on that campaign, right? We went and we made phone calls, and we went to Hillary's headquarters, and we made signs, and we went to events. It was important to me that I exposed to you what it was like to be part of something like that. Which was more important to you? Which vote was more important, the one that we made 4 years ago or the one we're about to make on Tuesday?
Definitely depends. I mean, this one is going to happen in 2 days.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're both pretty important.
Yeah.
Same guy running another party.
Right.
But I guess maybe we have a better chance for Biden to win this year because people have actually experienced what it's like with Trump for president.
Yeah, It's been scary.
Yes, the last 4 years. And the coronavirus definitely added a little bit to help our campaign, the other campaign.
Oh, you think because we're in a pandemic and because he screwed it up so much?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly don't want to have a pandemic to prove that, but yeah, we would be in a much better position if he wasn't president. I agree with
Oh, and the fact that he got coronavirus.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. Sounds good. We'll vote again on Tuesday. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Important. We'll get it done.
Would you mind answering some questions about voting?
I would not mind at all.
All right, cool. What was the first election you've ever voted in?
I see Truman was in 44 and 48. So it was Stevenson. I voted Stevenson versus Eisenhower.
And who won that election?
Eisenhower did. He was the general in charge of the invasion into Europe, and he was very popular. My parents were friends of his sisters. His sister was the first lady there, not his wife, because his wife was mentally ill. She couldn't stand crowds, and so his sister took over. And he was a very wise man, very intelligent.
Do you plan on voting in this election?
I would not miss it for the world. Yes, I haven't yet finished my ballot, but I've started, and I won't put it through the mail. I'll take it over to hand it into the drop boxes.
Yeah. Do you have any rituals that you do each year when you vote?
Well, now in Washington, all of our voting is done by mail. But before we started this 5 years ago or so, I was what they call an election judge. I would go down and take prepare people to vote, to the voting machines and vote. I'd look up their name on a list and so on. So that was kind of a ritual, getting ready for that. At other times, see, I've gone around and not for national elections, but for local elections, handed out literature.
But if there's anything else you'd like to share, feel free.
Well, the emphasis or the attention is devoted to the president, who's running for president. But equally important is all the local elections, for mayor, for city council members, for the governor, which is our governor is running for a third term. He ran for president on global warming was his main issue. So he may be, if he wins, and if Biden wins, then Biden might want him to come in the cabinet as dealing with global warming. This is probably the most serious election we've ever had. This, our democracy is at stake.
Yeah.
Celebrating over there? I know that there's like a lot of honking and celebration over here.